Hi, good evening, people. Hello, hello, hello. And we are live. So, welcome back to the Legally Informed Show. And I'm just going to try to patch our guest in. Yes, and she is here. Hello, Seki. Good evening.
Good
Can you hear
evening.
me? Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Okay.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
just
so
give me a
yeah,
minute.
yeah, settle in, please. Welcome.
Okay. I think you can go.
All right. Give me a minute a second, really. Okay. All right. Yes, you look just fine. Welcome. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think this is your first time as a guest on the Legally Informed Show, right?
Yes, it is.
Hooray! You've been a regular engager. Thank you so much. And welcome to the show as a guest. We're so happy to have you. Hmm?
I'm so happy to be here.
Powerhouse branding experts on the move. Eh? Madam Twale, I'm loyal to your government, Jerry.
Oh, it's well.
Well done. Well done. You're doing an
Thank you.
amazing job. And thank you for being here today. Ah,
Ah,
I hope the description for this life is still showing. Can barely see anything. But oh well, we're here this evening to talk about positioning yourself to be a choice hire. And I'm sure anyone who's regularly followed the Legally Informed show will be wondering, this is kind of like a deviation, not like the regular genre. It's not my regular space, it's not what I usually talk about. But like I gave a little background earlier that a few weeks back, I have put out a post, on behalf of a client asking for a position to be filled. And my DM, if I share it, it was a wonder. I got all kinds of messages, and it
I
just
can
got me
imagine.
thinking, who is preparing, people who are out there, young graduates, even those who are undergraduates, especially now that ASU has been on strike, for about 6 months, who's preparing people for the job market? What training do people get, to get out there, put out their skills? We hear work on your CV, do this, do that, but is that really enough? Because the kind of communication that I had with people, the kind of questions that I got, it made me really worried, and that's what inspired this conversation, and that's why I had to reach out to you. And I know that my Seki, aside from being a branding expert, has had a lot of experience in the HR, area. So thank you for agreeing to come on here and talk with us today. Just needed to give that little background. The thing is, with us now legally informed, and we're looking at not just informing you about legal matters, the law, keeping you educated, but every other thing that the law, the law affects every sphere of life, really. So every other thing that the law will touch on eventually, at least you should know from the basics before we now go to, for instance, we want to talk about employment law. Let it be that you positioned yourself to be a choice hire first before we now start talking about the employment law angle, right? So that's why we're here, and we're glad to have you. So thank you very much for coming. And it's over to you, the expert. I'm just going to be here learning, enjoying myself, and then maybe throwing in a few jabs here and there.
Okay, thank you so much for having me, the legally informed show. You can hear me very well, right?
Very well, loud and clear. Loud and
Oh,
clear.
beautiful. Okay, so as you know, I've worked in the HR for 7 years before
Wow.
I transitioned. And the reason why I transitioned was not necessarily because I had already known that at some point I would leave paid employment and start to do some of my things myself. But I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting it at the time it came. And it was because of the economic situation. So they had to decide to lay off certain persons. And of all people, me that is HR that is handing people stock letter everywhere. They start me my own
They not served you breakfast.
they sent
You
me
can
to breakfast
imagine.
and it broke my heart.
No
All right.
respect at all.
As in, it was not funny as at that time because I had people who were depending on a Lagos big girl who were dependent on me. My mother, I had a baby that was 2 years old, and all the other
Wow.
people that used to help. Hello, ma, please help me. Let me send you my CV and all that. So it
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
shock to me. But on the flip side, it was an awakening that a lot has changed in the job
Sure.
market.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
What used to happen and what brought you to where you are at that time wasn't enough to keep
Enough
you.
to sustain you, yeah. True.
Exactly. So you need, it meant that I needed to do something different. And that's the same thing I
Different.
see with everybody who is a job seeker currently. The
Mm.
the future of work has changed a lot of
Change.
things. COVID have
Mm.
come, like a lot
Yeah.
of things, economic situation, the fact that the country in itself is not even doing well. So you can imagine
Mm-hmm.
how much
Mm-hmm.
businesses were affected. So even employers and recruiters themselves are changing what used to be the
The
norm for them,
yardstick.
the
Yeah.
yardstick
Yeah.
for getting people. So it all
Yeah.
means that if you want to continue to play in the job market, your approach will be different. Your strategy
Mm.
has to change. A lot of things
Yeah.
have to change for you. And that's why I'm also grateful that I transitioned into teaching personal branding because
Mm.
it was because of the way that I left. If I had left on my own, probably would be doing something else. I knew HR has always been my thing and training, learning, because I was head of learning and development at that time. So I was enjoying it. Do you understand? But
Yeah.
because of the way I left, I had to sit down and ask myself, what is missing? What
Happened.
went wrong? Because I
Where's the
was a
gap?
good, like, yes, I was a very good what you call a utility staff. I was that person you didn't need to tell me, like, we just get a job to do a training, run a training for a company, and I was the person that didn't need a lot of time to
Supervision.
prepare
Mm.
or
Yeah.
supervision. And so I was almost everywhere. My immediate boss used to attest to it. So I sat down and asked myself, because in fact, when it happened, I went to her office. I said, "Ma, tell me why MD is saying I should go." And she said, "Favor, I tried to convince him." So it was because of the little gap of communication. So even though my
Mm.
immediate boss knew that I was a good person, there were a lot of the works that I did that he took credit for. Other people took credit for them because I wasn't positioned to market myself or to explain myself. I was
Mm.
just a good person, a good
Mm.
staff, but I was working hard in silence. So it means
Wow.
that if you are
Wow.
going to play well in this period, your approach to communicating what you are about or
The value
communicating
that
why
you
they
carry.
choose you, exactly,
Mm.
why they have
Mm.
to prefer you as the candidate that should be hired.
It's,
Your approach to
yeah.
communicating that value has to change.
The
All right, so
difference.
this is
Yeah.
the bulk of what we're going to talk about today. If you want to be
Mm.
the choice hire, the responsibility is on you because the skill gap is too much. Like the
Mm.
more that we used to say that there are not enough spaces to fill up
Jobs.
enough jobs
Jobs.
to fill up the people that are leaving school. But
But that's not
if you
true
have been
anymore.
a
Yeah, I
recruiter,
agree.
beautiful, if you have been a recruiter or a job owner, you will know that it is not true. The
There are
jobs
not
are
enough
good,
skilled
but
people
there are
to
not
fill
enough
enough
skills.
skilled people to fill in the positions,
Exactly.
especially
Exactly.
the high up. Yeah, yeah. That's
There's
so
even a
true.
statistic that says that Nigerian graduates are unemployable. So if you want to employ them, they don't even fit in. All right. So that's basically what we look at in today's show. So on that basis, I want to talk about how you can present yourself. Can you hear me? I'm getting an echo.
I can hear you. Yes, I hear. I
Okay.
can hear. Can you hear me? I can hear
Yes,
you
I
loud and clear. Yeah.
so
What we can also try to get some feedback from our audience. I've seen a few people pop in and out. So
okay.
if you've joined us live, just let us know that you can hear us. And in the event that you're catching a replay, also let us know that you heard us. And it would be nice to know where you joined in from. Yeah. So, but I
Okay.
can hear you loud and clear.
Beautiful. So on that basis, let's talk about social media being the new CV. Because
Okay.
even job owners and recruiters are now dependent on social media outlook, even social media
Your
to
footprint,
help
yes,
them
your digital
in
footprint.
the digital footprint that you have. Now, let me
Yeah.
tell you why it is necessary. Like I said, the gap in the industry is making it difficult for people to just believe you based on what you say on the CV. There are times when we have hired someone who has a lot of promise on their written CV, but when they came, they were not able to deliver.
It didn't
So
represent, yeah.
social media being what it is, the fact that it has given us a level of freedom to self-express. You can tell what someone is like looking at their digital footprint.
So
Do
true.
you understand what
So
I'm
true.
saying? So social
Yeah.
media is the next CV, and it is true. How you position yourself there, how you communicate there, we all contribute to how people perceive you. Now, the second thing about why it is important is if what is missing is technical skill, anybody can learn it. You can learn how to do anything if you sit down to do it.
If you put your mind down to it, yeah.
If you put your mind down to it. Like you can get a dummy. You know the way work is now. Even AI is making some job functions redundant. So there are people that in the nearest future they will not have none of what we have because um robotics are coming over, artificial intelligence is taking over, and these things they will not have the complications that human beings have. Not they're not going to live. They are not asking for permission because they are pregnant. They are not. You're going to pay overtime
Yes, they can walk up around the clock.
around the clock and give you. They are more efficient. They are
Yes,
more responsible because
errors are reduced.
exactly. You understand? So
Yeah.
social media is a platform where you can express your personality because that is now what is required. So I'm gonna share three C's. What I call three C's of becoming a choice hire. Three C's of becoming a choice hire. The first C is what I call clarity. So
Beautiful.
let's say that I put out a job offer and say I'm looking for a lawyer. I am not just looking for a lawyer because I need a lawyer. There is
It's
something
a
the lawyer
specific
will have
role,
to do.
yes, to do.
Help me
Yeah.
do it in my business. Do you understand? So
Mm-hmm.
if you do not understand what your essence,
That what
why
that role is for.
do you understand? It's beyond the role, the job function, the job name,
Yes,
or the
yeah.
description. It's about how exactly that's your role is going to help my business because I'm in business to make money.
Exactly.
Do you understand?
The applicability of it to achieving the firms or the businesses
Exactly. The
aims
bottom
and
line.
objectives.
Exactly. So if you are a job seeker, first thing to do is to sit down and ask yourself, this job that I am looking for, how does it benefit the business that I'm seeking to get into their company, their company? How? That is a security man. How does this affect their business? Do you understand? Because when you say I'm a security person, you know that even all these security men that you don't see them anymore. You just walk in, the AI machine will tell you, welcome to First Bank. You'll be excited. You know, there has to be something else. It's not about security. Those gadgets you can't match their energy. You can't match them when it comes to doing the actual function. But there's something they are lacking, which is the humanity in it. And it's that humanity that explains what you do. So you have to like crystal clear what your role or what you have to offer to people. Do you understand? So you have to who are you? And what do you do? So like now, if I say I'm a personal branding expert, is it just because of the name? What do I do? I simply help you look attractive so that you can position for visibility. That's the most important thing. So when I come myself, a personal branding expert or a visibility coach or whatever, a sales coach, the most important thing is there's something I'm helping people achieve. So you look clear
about what it is
what you are about,
bringing to the table that is beneficial to that organization.
Beautiful. So it's up to you. What is to sit down and ask yourself, what exactly do I want? I'm a chemical engineer. What's my role? What's my job function? Businesses hire people to do three things. The first one is to make money. They're in business, they hire you to help them make more money. Or they hire you to help them reduce costs. Or they hire you to block leakages.
That's so true.
Whether you're a HR person, if you're a salesperson, or you are a product business development, chief operating officer, you are all about sales, bringing more money. Then all these administrative roles is to help them cut costs. HR, accountant, name all the other administrative roles, those people that you call back office people that sit down and facilitate what other people do. Or you are there to put systems in place so that there are no leakages and there are no bureaucracy. IT, strategy, all of the people that help to ensure that there are systems, structures, and that the process is seamless. All right, so it's either that whatever role that you have to do is tied to this three things. If you're a security person, you are the first point of call to anybody who comes into the organization. The way you treat them will affect whether they continue to do business. If you treat them wrongly, they will leave and the company will lose money. So your job as a security person is not just about
to encourage someone who is stepping in to help the company make money. Wow.
Which is when I was actively doing training, I encourage business owners to train those people you call casual staff. Because before they meet you, like all our, you're a woman, all our experiences, if you go to places like government hospitals, they have good hands as doctors and surgeons and all the rest of them. But before you meet those people, the people you meet, the veterans, the small persons that carry fine, like made you very angry. You forget how important the people that you are coming to are.
Yes, that's so true.
So that's why people are private hospitals. Not like those places they don't have very good doctors. So it's the same thing. You have to understand your job role and how it is going to help the company you want to get into. C is what I call communication. you have to communicate that. So the first one is to understand what it is first. The second thing is to be able to communicate that. Put them in words. Because
Yes.
you cannot have it in your mind that I know how good I am. Some people, when you ask them, okay, so how are you going to help us? They'll be like, ma, I know myself.
I know
Ma,
what I
I know
can
I
bring to
can
the
do it.
table.
I know what I can do.
So yeah, and
No,
then their role is now to go into the crevices of your mind and fish out
exactly. I'll still
that
be a
your
man.
ability and what you can do.
So
Wow.
if you're not able to communicate how good you are,
Mm.
the people who are not good but that can talk will take those roles.
Kai.
This is one of the errors of human resource during recruitment. You see a candidate who is just blabbing, talking everywhere, they're impressive, and you be like, oh, this one will do magic. At the end of the day, they will come and they will not do anything. No, sometimes you also have those ones that they are not able to put words together.
They are not articulated, Yeah, and sometimes
But
you
at the
take a
end of the
chance
day,
on them.
if you by chance
Are
you
able
get
to
an
draw them
opportunity and
out.
take them, yes,
Yes, take a
you
chance on
see how
them.
amazing they can be.
Yes, that's so
But
true.
the
That's so
challenge
true.
is you will not always tell who will have that
Have
kind of
that, yes, and not every recruiter is that
work.
perceptive.
Do
Not
you
every
understand?
recruiter will be patient
Exactly.
enough to draw you out or give you the chance
Come and give you
to
an
come and
take a chance on
no,
you.
no, no,
It's
no.
not
That's
always
a risk. That's a
it's
risk.
such a huge risk. And you know, sometimes when we do interviews and CEOs sitting, they don't have time for people like that. You are coming to, yes, what can
They
you do?
want.
You are just
Do you understand? They want to get on with the business of the day. They are busy people, really.
so
Yeah,
my
yeah.
point is if you are good, learn how to
To
communicate.
communicate it.
You
That's so
cannot
key.
be missing in action. Meanwhile, you have capacity. When I said that,
Mm.
I left, it was because I was not I was good, but I was not communicating my amazingness. I was just working on myself.
And yes, and it's not just about communicating your effectiveness and your value, but actually communicating it to the right quarters.
Right?
Because from
Exactly.
what you just said, your immediate boss knew your worth. She
You,
knew the value you were bringing to the
you,
table. But
do you
the right
understand?
people, because there's
Exactly.
a hierarchy,
They have, especially if you are looking to get into beyond one man
the play the big
category.
league in the big league. Yeah, yeah,
Do you
yeah.
understand? So that's the
Okay.
issue. But learning how to communicate your value, and that's where pitching comes. That's your unique selling point. Articulate it, sit down. What makes you different?
So
What have you
true.
been
So
able to
true.
achieve in the past?
Yes, yes, yes.
What can you look back and tell yourself? Because I did this in the past, I can do this one. If you put these things together, when you get into an interview hall, you can make difference that say, when I was here, I did X, Y, Z, and this is what
Mm-hmm.
eventually happened.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have
yeah.
you have times when I struggle with making decisions. So these are things that you sit down on your own. Communication is the work you do even before you get into the interview hall. You sit
Yeah.
down and articulate these things so that you can communicate them well. The problem of communication is that we don't think. We don't sit down to think through things before we go and blab. So if you
Mm.
sit down and ask yourself some pertinent questions, so this role, what, how does it help the organization you want to get into? This role, have you done it before? Can you point at one, two, three things that have shown you as someone who have done it before? Like what I used to do by myself is to simulate interview questions, even when there are nobody there. So you have your mirror, you can just sit in front of the mirror and practice this thing. So don't think that application is not for you, because it's very important. We are all human beings, and we are limited by expression. You don't see the mind. We don't see the minds, except you are a seer or a seer. You understand? So you as the job seeker has to do these things by yourself.
That's really profound. That's really profound. Wow.
So I was going to get on to the third C, which is your charisma. And let me dwell a bit in this. You know that, like I said, any job can be taught. But there is a difference, because you can easily pick somebody who does not have certificate and teach them the technical aspect of the job. People are no longer so versed in paper CV. With all the corruption that is happening at universities and everything, they are not too much vested. They are important, but they are not too much vested. What are they looking for? They are looking for your personality. What kind of personality do you bring?
Do you have? Yeah.
Do you have? Because if you know, there was a time they had an argument around. It was a hotel gathering, so we're having an argument. A lawyer staff and a staff who is more important. So you have this staff who is very loyal to you, who understands your business, but he's not very good. And then there is this one. He's very very well. But you can't tell. He doesn't.
You can't trust him. He's like, yes. You're not sure what will happen when you step out.
Exactly. You understand? He's always quarreling with people. He can't work with his co-workers. He's sabotaging them. But he's good. So by assessment, everybody in that team agreed that a loyal person is more important. Because you can teach anybody. So what is the personality that you are bringing to the table? What is the personality that you have? See, you know what? I think it was Stephen Covey who said you should not build your business with the wrong people. And you said if you have the wrong people in the bus, throw them away. On board them. Let them go. Because you can't have somebody constantly working against
the aim and objectives of the business.
So what's the charisma?
And so you are now constantly having to try to protect your business, and that's not your role, really.
How intelligent are you? How are you able to work with a team? How able to manage your emotions? You just I used to have an Indian boss. This my boss, you know, they are very good. They have very good work ethic. You can trust that if it's 8 hours that they are supposed to work, they will give you that 8 hours.
Yeah.
But he was so flippant to you. Wow. He was making the environment very toxic. You said, fuck out. You tell you know, dude, just be the everywhere. At some point, they had to release the and the shocking thing was that it just brought him, and you know the way they do it, you pay for everything, like you pay. So when I was giving my boss, I was at Osborne. So I was asking my boss, are we going to mix all this money that we just spent bringing this guy from abroad? My boss said the way he's making this
will cost more money than
you come here, nobody will come back to the office.
Yeah.
Because
I see some comments. Sorry, I see some comments that the network is fluctuating. I'm sorry. Can you hear us better now? Sorry about that. There's really we We can hear ourselves very well, surprisingly. So I hope that you are able to catch up. She says it's repeating. Well, Seki, how's the network from your end?
I
It's
can hear
looking
you
good
from
from there.
here.
Yeah. Okay, so sorry about that. So please go ahead.
Okay. Maybe she can just log out and log in again.
Yeah. If you can hear us, maybe that's something you can try. You can try to log out and log back on. Thank you for joining us.
So that was how my boss met Mr. Murari because he had a very bad personality. So
Wow.
you need to be sure that you are coming with an amazing personality. Grow yourself. The job, and
So
I
true.
think that that's the only difference here between you and the machines that can replace you. They don't have that humanity in them. Some people when the job comes to their table, the way they respond to people, like with no empathy, nothing, like you're too rigid as a person. So there should be an element of flexibility so that if
Yeah.
it's a decision that needs to be taken, you can easily adjust. That's what they call job ownership. Because if
Yeah.
it's your business, there is no help
Mm. Yes,
that
that you
will
don't want to. That's true. That's true. That's true.
so
That's true.
that's the thing. Oh, yeah, I want to take some water now.
Please, please.
So that's the thing. The three C's, the first one, clarity with what you have to bring. The second one is knowing how to communicate,
Communication.
how to speak it. And the third one,
Third is your charisma.
your personality.
Thank you.
Now, if you have
Thank
fixed
you.
these things, let's talk about branding yourself on social media. Like I
Okay.
said, something
I'm going to have to come in a bit. I've thought about this, and especially because I know that a couple persons who wanted to be here were not able to join us live. So I know I'm expecting that a lot of people will want to catch the replays. So
okay.
for that purpose, I don't want us to make it. I want to make it easy for people to be able to catch up. And
Okay.
really, I've seen that this conversation is not something that we can wrap up in a day. So even though I know that this is not what we talked about, I'm going to have to crave your indulgence. We are going to have to turn this into a series of some sort. I'm sorry, because there's
Okay.
still a whole lot. There are a whole lot of questions I want to ask you. There are other issues I want you to address. We're still talking about. I believe that we're talking about the entry point now. We're talking
Yeah.
about what will stand you out. At the entry point. So we're still talking. The like we talked about job hunting tips that you should not ignore, right? So
Yeah.
there's the job interview part. Yes, I know that there's some interlapping. There are some things that you need at the entry point where you're applying that will also be relevant to you, especially in terms of being able to communicate what you are clear on, the value that you're bringing. That will help you at the interview stage as well. But there's also, the job interview stage, the job
Mhm.
maintenance stage, which requires you to play the office politics well and all of that. And those are not things, all of these are not things that we can deal with in one day. So even people will say that "Onye nwere mmadụ ka onye nwere ego." So I've got you. I'm going to milk all of that, expertise that you're coming with. So
I'm
I'm just
here.
going to crave your indulgence that we try to wrap today's up. I don't want it
Oh,
to go beyond the certain time so that people can very easily catch up. And then we're going to have maybe Wednesday again, get on this again and deal with another aspect of it, because yeah, there's just a whole lot, to
yeah.
talk about. Yeah. So,
I agree.
but
I'm here for
yeah,
you.
before I let you wrap up on this first episode, I want to ask a specific question. So we're talking about, remember that I'm trying to draw from my experience. I've not necessarily been a HRO person, but somehow, because of being a senior staff, I've somehow been a part of recruitment, especially at the internship level. Now, for us lawyers, we have a lot
Yeah.
of interns coming to the firm, at interval, people who are on their way in between law school and then being called to bar. So firms have to absorb them and all of that. So I'm usually involved at that point, and we treat it like the whole entire job hiring process. So that's giving me, some kind of back end experience. So, with that experience in mind, and that the experience I had with trying to get this job vacancy filled for my clients, I there's a particular issue that I found that is recurrent, and I wanted you to just quickly help us address it. So, I understand, especially from a legal perspective. I mean, people work for a fee. You're coming to work to be paid, right? As long as
Yeah.
it's not a voluntary position, you're working because this will help you to pay your bills, fend for yourself, and all of that. So it's ordinarily a right, an entitlement of sorts, that you're going to be paid, and you should know what you're going to be paid. But at the point of application or conversation about getting a job, or you are finding out about an advert, a job vacancy, an ad, about an opening, when is the right time that an applicant should start asking, um, what's the salary for this role or for this position?
There are actually there's nothing that is cast in stone. Like I said when I started, the workplace is changing. You have a
Okay.
lot of what we call Gen Z in the workplace now. People who are characterized by not having a lot of patience for certain things. So I think our best practice is to include remuneration in the job description as it is out.
Okay. Okay.
Because
Okay.
we don't want surprises. What
Okay.
if,
Okay.
look at it this way, what if I was in a place that was earning 70,000 and you write
Okay.
the job description and you say salary attractive, and in your head, what is attractive is
It's
50,000
fifty
naira.
thousand. Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I'll probably leave my office and come for interview, maybe the first stage, to only learn at the end of the day that the position is for 50,000. That will be heartbreaking. So I
Mm.
feel like there's a level of transparency that
Okay.
job recruiters should employ as they
Mm.
advertise their job. All right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
put it out
Okay.
there. Whoever wants the job wants it. Who doesn't want to not want? There are people
Okay.
who are also in toxic environments who may want to just leave no matter what they pay. So if you put it out there, if somebody is living at 70 and still wants to come down, they should
Mm.
come down. I feel like that
Okay.
everybody should know from day one. Except if
Okay.
it is a senior higher role where you have
Okay.
to work people or use referral. There's a level of negotiation that is allowed in those kind of roles. But
Exactly.
all that, how much are you expecting? You already know how much you want to pay the person.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. No.
So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yes, I understand that. And that makes sense. But I'm asking this question from the point of view of people who, okay, where I get that recruiters should take that first step, and put it out there. But where it's not put out there, and an applicant, a prospective, employee, is reaching out for the first time, and the first question they're asking is, "What's the salary?"
That's why I
I
said we have a lot of Gen Zs in the workplace now. They don't have those are the things you have to deal with working with. Like, do you know that there are trainings for HR managers on how to handle Gen Zs in the workplace because they are a whole
Wow.
lot.
Wow. Yeah, I can
So
imagine. I
keeping
can
that in
imagine.
mind, somebody can
Yeah.
just pop up that question, but it's not ethically it's not very wise. But somebody
Yes,
can ask.
I think that, yeah, which will bring me to summarizing with what you said, you know, um, clarity, because I think that the first thing a person who is applying for a job should be looking at in the real sense. I get that, especially within our cultural milieu, but then we're looking to be better. we're looking to upskill, we're looking to meet up with international best practices if possible. So the first thing I think that you should be focused on is, how does this job role align with my career goals?
Exactly. Exactly.
How
That's
does it
exactly
mm,
what you have. What
how does
you
it
should have.
align with my career goals? And then how am I going to, like you said, what value am I going to be able to bring? Because what I've found out, from my own experience, is that a good number of times, even when a particular figure is put out there, there's a range. There's some level of flexibility that recruiters have, and they are looking to see what value you are coming with. They're
Yeah.
looking to see what you are able to bring to the table. So more often than not, people who are not putting out that information there, it's not necessarily because they don't want to be transparent. It's because they want to give the room to see what you can bring
What
and see how that
exactly.
range will be. Yeah. So I've also seen, job ads where they have salary range between this and that. So maybe from 100,000 to 150,000, which is a good idea, I think. But I think that young people particularly need to, because I know that people who are taking up middle role positions and senior positions already know this. More often than not. But
Not
young
that
people
said,
are
yes,
usually, yes, young people are mostly about, they put that in front. And I think that's a put off,
they
that's a
misconstrue
put off. Yeah. So,
this.
especially when you know that, a lot of the Gen Z we are talking about is different. If you're coming with so much, you have so much to offer. You have some skills. Maybe you're tech compliant or this. But when you know that you're coming, because a lot of the people I'm talking about who have experienced this, there are people who you will even need to train. There's not
Yeah,
much they are bringing to the table. So putting yourself out there, and we are looking at your CV already. We can see that there's a lot of work that needs to be done to brush you up. And then the first thing you throw in the recruiter space is, how much is the that? Yeah. So
yeah,
that's why I wanted you to help me. But I get
yeah.
the point that you have made, that nothing ordinarily is cast in stone. And yes, I would agree with that. So I'm just going to let you say your final words, and then we're going to come back for another banger in episode 2. So
It's fine. You can always achieve anything you put your mind to. All right. So
hmm.
just sit down and articulate yourself properly, and you'll be on your way to greater things. All right. So I'm here to continue. We can continue because it's an ongoing conversation. We can
Yes, it
continue
is.
the
It is.
conversation
It is. It is.
another
It is.
time.
Yeah. People who are named favor are powerful women. Thank you, Seki. This has been an amazing time. I wish we could just go on, but I'm looking forward to having these conversations again and again.
Yeah,
And I know we're coming back in a few days to talk about something else that's very important
yeah,
to our
yeah,
hearts. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to that
Exactly that.
conversation again. Yeah, and if
Yeah.
you're joining us for the first time, please, you should be following this page, because trust me, there's a lot of good space, good stuff coming up. And you should be following our guest. You really should be following her. She has a whole lot. She has a whole lot to. uh, Ebu, Ebube is not aware that you're doing video.